As the morning sun cast its bright rays over the massive Sosaliso plane grandiosely stationed and awaiting the passengers on boarding, Mario and her friends strutted excitedly to board the plane, their high-pitched laughter and giggles filling the harmattan with celebratory sensations of the Yuletide season. But before they could reach the boarding ladder, Mario reached out to Ada, signaling to her with her flashy iPhone, "Please come and snap me sharp before we board." "You too like pictures," Ada responded as she quickly snatched the phone from Mo and gave her a few shots. "Sharpshooter," Mo exclaimed. "I trust your photography skills. You know I must post to Instagram to inform my fans that I am back after the long silence." The girls boarded the flight and placed their flashy hand luggage above the cabin racks. "I'm telling you, this December would be the dirtiest," Mario said as she relaxed to fasten her seatbelt on board their flights back to Enugu for the Christmas hauls. "This brand is about to make me famous. Just wait till you see my first commercial." Her eyes sparkled with excitement, and her friends giggled, envious but supportive. Mo wasn't just another pretty face that walked the halls of Crown Heights International School, she was the face. The school's pageant queen 3 years running, with her head held high, her perfect caramel skin glowing in the sun, her long legs carrying her with a dancer's grace. Her laughter was like music, and her voice could light up any room. She was recently signed as a brand ambassador for the popular Zeran Cosmetics brand, and her photo shoot was scheduled for January. She'd already started discussing beauty treatments with her friends during break times. Among her peer group, Mo was the star. They moved through the school in a tight, glittering pack, their designer bags swinging and their manicured nails gleaming. They thrived on making others feel small, taunting classmates who didn't meet their standards. Mo never actively participated in the bullying, but she also never stopped it. She had rationalized it by thinking that she wasn't the one doing it. The rest of their trip was filled with laughter and chatting about their Christmas plans that they didn't notice that the trip was almost over. As the pilot announced their descent turbulence, it suddenly. The plane jolted, sending drinks spilling and passengers gripping their armrests. Mo exchanged uneasy glances with her friends, their laughter faltering. Mo's mother, busy, paced nervously in the crowded waiting area of the Enugu International Airport. She clutched her handbag tightly, her perfectly wrapped girlie slightly askew from the stress. Outside, the rain had started to fall, a light drizzle turning into a steady downpour. "They're late," she murmured, glancing at her watch. "They'll be fine, madam," a fellow parent reassured her, though the worry in her own eyes betrayed her words. Busy nodded absently, her heart pounding. The thought of Mo coming home for Christmas after months at boarding school was the only thing keeping her going through her long hours at work. She could already picture her daughter sweeping into their home with her usual confidence, her suitcase trailing behind her. "Rain," Busy muttered, her voice barely audible. "Why now?" She looked out at the darkening sky, her anxiety mounting with every passing minute. Back on the plane, Mo glanced out of the window again, her smile fading slightly. The clouds outside had grown thicker, darker, swirling ominously in the distance. She adjusted the scarf around her neck, trying to ignore the slight turbulence that shook the plane. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking," the intercom crackled. "We are experiencing some mild turbulence due to weather conditions, but there's no cause for alarm. Please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened." The announcement was meant to be reassuring, but Mario noticed the way the flight attendants exchanged uneasy glances as they hurriedly secured the overhead compartments. The turbulence worsened as the plane began its descent. Mo's ears popped, the pressure in the cabin building as the aircraft fought against the raging storm outside. Rain streaked across the windows in frantic patterns, and flashes of lightning illuminated the terrified faces of the passengers. The plane lurched suddenly, throwing Mo forward against her seatbelt. She heard someone scream. "Hold on," the captain's voice shouted over the intercom, "no longer calm." Panic spread like wildfire. The cabin lights flickered, plunging them into brief moments of darkness. "We are going to die," someone shouted from the back of the plane. "No, no, no," Mo muttered under her breath, squeezing her eyes shut. She thought of her mother waiting for her at the airport, of the Christmas plans she had put together. This couldn't be the end. A deafening screech of metal tore through the chaos, and the plane began to tilt. Mo's world spun violently, her body pressed against the seat as gravity seemed to betray her. Then, nothing. Back at the airport, Busy clutched her phone tightly, her fingers trembling. News of the crash had spread like wildfire, and parents were gathered around the television in the corner, watching the grim updates.
The Sosoliso Airlines flight from Abuja to Enugu has crashed during its landing attempt, the reporter said, her voice somber. Rescue operations are underway, but initial reports indicate a devastating loss of life. "No," Busy whispered, her legs giving way. A man caught her before she hit the floor. "Not my Mo. Not my baby." The first thing Mo felt was pain. It radiated through her body, sharp and relentless, as though her very skin was on fire. She tried to open her eyes, but the brightness was blinding. "Mario," a familiar voice called softly. She groaned, turning her head slightly. Her mother's tear-streaked face came into view, her hands trembling as she gently stroked Mo's bandaged arm. "Mommy," Mario croaked, her voice barely audible. "I'm here, my baby," Busy whispered, her voice breaking. "You're alive. That's all that matters." Alive. The word echoed in Mo's mind, and with it came flashes of memory, the storm, the screams, the screech of metal. She tried to move, but pain shot through her body, forcing her still. What happened? Her mother's eyes filled with tears. "The plane, it crashed. You're the only one who survived. You're a miracle." Weeks turned into months as Mario endured endless surgeries and painful treatments. She was surrounded by whispers of doctors and nurses, her world reduced to the sterile walls of the hospital. Her parents had refused to let her see her reflection, insisting it was too soon. But one day, curiosity overcame her. She caught a glimpse of herself in the reflection of a window. The girl staring back at her wasn't the Mo she remembered. Her once flawless skin was now marred by scars, her features distorted. She recoiled, a choke sob escaping her lips. "No," she cried, her hands trembling as they touched her face. "This isn't me. This can't be me." Her mother rushed to her side, wrapping her arms around her. "You're still my beautiful girl," she said, her voice trembling. "You're alive, Mario. That's what matters." When Mario was well enough to leave the hospital, her parents decided to move to the United States, hoping a new environment would help her heal. But high school in a foreign country was a battlefield of its own. As the assembly dismissal bell rang distinctly at Valley Heights Academy, Mario clutched tightly at her books, looking around frantically trying to locate her new classroom. The stares from her fellow students were intimidating. Whispers followed her down the hall like a shadow. "Is she contagious?" someone murmured. "She looks like a monster," another voice added, followed by muffled laughter. Mo lowered her head, her heart pounding. The confident girl who had once commanded attention now wanted nothing more than to disappear. As she finally got a glimpse of her class, SS3B, she hurriedly rushed inside, her eyes quickly scanning through for an empty seat. She immediately found one, made her way to the locker and sat down. She heaved a sigh of relief as she buried her head in between her arms, wishing the ground would bury her already. Next, she heard a tap on her locker. She raised her head to see who it was. Her eyes caught the beautiful lush blonde hair of the girl standing in front of her. She looked all flashy and crispy. She had a fancy pink name tag written Cherry. "Why would they bring a burnt ghost to our class?" Cherry questioned as the entire class erupted in laughter. As if the black monkey over there wasn't enough, she pointed at Angela, a beautiful dark-skinned girl sitting at the extreme end of the class. "Why is SS3B always the dumping ground for rejected people?" Cherry continued. The laughter escalated again like fuel in a fire on a dry harmattan morning. "Settle down everyone," a stern voice interrupted, bringing order to the classroom. "Why the commotion, Mr. Michael?" their teacher queried. The entire class remained silent as Maria stole some time to recuperate from the gruesome embarrassment she had just witnessed. "If only this girl knew who I used to be, she wouldn't dare say these mean words to me," Maria muttered under her breath as her mind drifted back to her former life in Nigeria. Her glamorous life before the plane crash. The entire school day was a nightmare for Maria as she managed to live one day at a time. The worst came one day during lunch when Cherry and her group of girls approached her table. "Hey, new girl," Cherry sneered. "What happened to your face? Did you fall into a bonfire or something?" Laughter erupted, cruel and cutting. Mo clenched her fist on her tray of food, willing herself not to cry. "Leave her alone," Angela said, her voice firm. "You think you're better than her because you don't have scars. At least she has the guts to show up here every day, unlike you cowards." The bullies retreated, muttering under their breath. Angela turned to Mo and smiled. "I'm Angela," she said, extending her hand. "And you're not alone. They used to call me names too. Jungle Girl, Africa Monkey, you name it. But I don't let them win." Mo looked up, startled by the girl's honesty. From that day on, Angela became Mo's lifeline. Mo learned to live with her tough reality, finding solace in the comfort of her voice in the school restroom. On days when the burden gets unbearable, Maria ran to the restroom to cry and sing. She always felt a deep sense of relief after crying and singing. It was as though something magical took away her problems. One day, as she leaned against the cold tiles of the restroom, singing and crying, she heard the hallway announcement microphone screech. "This is your principal speaking. All students should move to the assembly ground immediately." Mo quickly wiped her tears as she adjusted her pleated skirt, preparing to join the other students in the auditorium. What could be the reason for an emergency assembly, she thought to herself as she squeezed her way into the tightly packed hall. "Good afternoon, distinguished students of Valley High School. It is my utmost pleasure to announce to you that the date for the long-awaited senior prom has been fixed, and this year's prom is no ordinary prom. The organizers of the prestigious National Christmas Singing Competition have selected our school to host this year's edition, so everyone should brace up for a twin ceremony." Shouts of celebration and excitement enveloped the podium as students' spirits were so high on hearing the exciting news. Prom alone was a highlight event for showing off affluence and wealth, and to couple that with the prestigious National Christmas Singing Competition was a sure recipe for mad fun. Talented students are advised to pick up the registration form and apply for the competition before the closing date. SS3 students should work with Mr. Elon for couple pairing and further preparations, the principal concluded. Maria's heart sank once again. Who on earth would want to pair up with a burnt offering like me, she pondered. I will definitely stay home on that day. Thank God the occasion would be aired live on TV, at least I won't miss out on the Christmas singing competition. As the early morning birds chirped close to the window where Mo faced, chilled winter air breezed in, making the class feel like a deep freezer. Mo sat comfortably on her seat waiting for others to come. Arriving extra early to school was her new tactic to help minimize and evade the malicious bullying of Cherry and her group. As she casually unlocked her locker to select the textbooks she would be using for the day, a piece of paper dropped to the floor. She quickly picked it up to scan through it. Contestant number 4, Miss Mario Ogondia. What? Mario screamed with her eyes fully dilated and her hands over her mouth. Who applied with my name for the National Christmas Singing Competition? Bullying and humiliating me in front of the class isn't enough for Cherry and her group. Now they are trying to embarrass me in front of the whole world. As she was still trying to figure out what to make of this information, Mariel heard a footstep approaching. She quickly crumbled the paper in her hand and headed to her seat. Hey Mo, a familiar voice beckoned. Mariel looked up and it was Angela. Oh, you startled me. So sorry about that, Angela replied. Have you seen your contestants' tickets for the Christmas singing competition? Angela inquired as she leaned against a chair. Angela, it was you? Why would you set me up for national embarrassment? Have you joined them to mock me? Mo cried with tears flowing uncontrollably. No Mo, I would never do such a thing to my own friend. I have caught you singing severally in the restroom and I can assure you that you have such a great voice. The world deserves to hear your voice. Angela encouraged her to give it a shot. Moreover, what is the worst thing that could happen? The evening sky over Valley Heights Academy glittered with stars, but they paled in comparison to the spectacle unfolding on the school grounds. The grand hall was adorned with cascading red and gold drapes. It was prom night, and for the SS3 students, this was not just a school event, it was a declaration of status, style, and supremacy. Sleek cars paired into the lot, one after another, their polished exteriors reflecting the shimmering lights. Students dressed to impress spilled out, each arrival more extravagant than the last. Girls in flowing gowns with sequins that caught every glimmer of light linked arms with boys in perfectly tailored tuxedos. The air was electric with the hum of conversation, the flash of cameras, and the cheers of younger students who had gathered as an unofficial audience, ogling their seniors like they were Hollywood stars. Is that a Bentley? Someone gasped as another luxury car rolled in. No way, that's a Maserati, another voice replied, awestruck. The SS3 students basked in the attention, their confidence radiating as they posed on the makeshift red carpet. Photographers, both professional and amateur, snapped away, immortalizing the night. Among the crowd was Cherry, draped in an emerald green gown that hugged her calves like it had been stitched onto her. Her arrival had caused a stir, as always, and her entrance had been accompanied by a cacophony of applause and envious whispers. Cherry tilted her chin upward, her jeweled earrings catching the light. She glanced at her partner, a boy whose family name was as shiny as his Rolex. She was certain tonight would be hers, her moment to shine. The crowd swelled as more students arrived, but nothing compared to the moment Cherry stepped out of her car. Gasps rippled through the crowd, and the cameras turned their full attention to her. She looks stunning, someone exclaimed. Cherry reveled in it, tossing her hair back dramatically as she took slow, deliberate steps down the red carpet. "This is my night," she thought, her lips curling into a satisfied smirk. But just as she prepared to claim her moment in front of the cameras, a sudden and unexpected noise shattered the atmosphere. The deep, rhythmic thwop of a helicopter echoed through the air, drawing every head upward. The floodlights of the Grand Hall caught the gleaming body of the aircraft as it descended onto the cleared section of the field nearby. Gasps turned to murmurs of disbelief. "Is that a helicopter? Who comes to prom in a private jet?" The whispers turned into a crescendo of speculation as the helicopter landed gracefully, its rotors slowing to a stop. The school's logo gleamed proudly on its side, a subtle reminder of the wealth and power behind it. The door of the helicopter swung open, and out stepped none other than Jide, the dashing son of the billionaire owner of Valley Heights Academy. Dressed in a sleek black tuxedo with a gold pocket square, his entrance alone was enough to make jaws drop. But he wasn't done. Jide adjusted his cufflinks before reaching into the helicopter. With his free hand, he helped someone down, a figure whose silhouette was momentarily obscured by the angle of the floodlights. The crowd leaned forward as if pulled by an invisible force, straining to see who it was. And then, she stepped into view. Mareo. The murmur stopped, replaced by stunned silence. Mareo descended the steps of the helicopter with a grace that silenced even her harshest critics. Her gown, a masterpiece of silk and shimmering crystals, flowed like liquid starlight. Her skin, once marred by scars, now glowed with a beauty that transcended the physical. Her makeup was subtle yet flawless, accentuating her bright eyes and full lips. Her once short hair was now styled in soft waves that cascaded down her shoulders. For a moment, the world seemed to stop. "Is that Mo?" someone whispered. "No way," another replied, their voice barely audible. Cherry's face twisted in disbelief, her confident smirk vanishing like mist under the sun. Her grip tightened on her partner's arm, her perfectly manicured nails digging into his sleeve. "She looks amazing," one of Cherry's own friends murmured, unable to hide her awe. Cherry glared at her, her jaw tightening. Mo and Jide walked toward the red carpet, their every step commanding attention. The crowd parted like the Red Sea, whispers trailing in their wake. "Mo," Jide said, offering her his arm as they approached the cameras. "Thank you," she replied softly, her voice carrying both gratitude and confidence. The flashes began before they even reached the red carpet, blinding and incessant. Mo paused, turning to face the cameras. For a moment, she felt the weight of the attention, the memories of ridicule and rejection flashing through her mind. But then she lifted her chin, her confidence swelling. This was her moment. As the students filed into the Grand Hall, the anticipation for the National Christmas Singing Competition reached its peak. The stage was bathed in soft golden light, a grand piano positioned at its center. The night's performers were seated in a special section, but all eyes were on Mo. When her name was called, the applause was deafening. She took a deep breath, her heels clicking softly against the polished wood of the stage. She positioned herself at the microphone, her heart pounding in her chest. The music began, a soft melody that grew steadily as Mo's voice joined in. Her voice was hauntingly beautiful, rich with emotion. It carried the weight of her pain, her survival, and her triumph, weaving a spell over the audience. By the time she finished, the hall was silent for a moment before erupting into a standing ovation. The judges announced Mo as the winner of the competition, and the room exploded with applause and cheers. Mo stood at the center of the stage, a trophy in her hands, her eyes glistening with tears of joy. As she descended the stage, reporters and students alike swarmed her, cameras flashing and microphones thrust toward her. Mario, how does it feel to win? Can you share your story with us? Who are you wearing tonight? Even Cherry couldn't resist taking a step closer, though her expression was a mix of envy and grudging admiration. Maria looked around at the crowd, her heart swelling with gratitude. This was her night, a night she would never forget. For the first time in a long time, she felt like she belonged. And this time, it wasn't because of her looks or her status. It was because of her strength, her courage, and her voice.